Hello friends, this is Nick from NLB Solutions, and today I'm going to show you how you can perform a non-authoritative and later authoritative Active Directory restore on Windows Server 2012 R2. In this video, I'm going to start by showing you my current scenario and my current lab that I have for nlblab.com. I'm going to show you what are the objects and what are the organizational units that I'm going to delete in order for me to start with the restore afterwards. So I'm going to start by deleting the branch organizational unit alongside with all the users, all the security and distribution groups, and I'm going to force a replication to all of my DCs, which are currently only 2. But this will help me to remove completely my branch organizational unit from my domain. After that, I'm going to boot my DC into Active Directory restore mode or Directory Services restore mode, and from there I'm going to perform a non-authoritative restore, which is a system state restore, and I'm going to use the wb-admin command tool line to show you how you can start a restore from command prompt or PowerShell. After the system state restore is finished, I'm going to perform an authoritative restore only on my branch organizational unit by using the command line tool ntdsutil. After my authoritative restore is completed, I'm going to boot my DC into normal mode, and I'm going to again force a replication so I can replicate all of the restored objects, which is the branch organizational unit. There are 2 prerequisites that you need to consider before you can start with your own scenario. This is the system state backup. For my current demonstration, I'm going to use the Windows Server backup, and I'm going to perform a system state backup first, and then I'm going to use that image to restore my Active Directory state. And you need to know your domain services restore mode administrator password, and this password is pre-configured back when you installed your domain. So let's start with the demo. For this video, first I'm going to log into my primary DC with my domain admin account. And first I'm going to show you what is the exact scenario that I'm going to do here, and so you can try to replicate this in your home lab environment, or if you want to see what is the main purpose of the authoritative restore and the non-authoritative restore, and what is the process that you need to go through, what are the steps that you need to follow in order for your Active Directory to be successfully restored and up and running, and will be able to replicate all the changes to your other domain controllers in your domain. With this one, I have 2 DCs, DC1 and DC2. DC1 is my primary DC, DC2 is my secondary DC, and they are currently located in different sites. So the general idea here is that when the domain controllers are located on different sites, instead of using the intranet replication, which occurs almost immediately, this is going to occur for the default time scale, which is 180 minutes. So in my scenario, I will go ahead and will force the replication, because that won't occur, so you won't be able to see the changes that I did. First, let me start by opening my Active Directory users and computers. Under my NLB solution organizational unit, I've made another organizational unit that is called branch, and in there I have the branch office users that are currently residing on my branch where my second domain controller is. So I have the finance department OU, the IT department OU, and the sales and in there I've made users for every department, and I've made security groups that provide certain permissions to shared resources. I have created distribution groups that are allowing my users to receive emails from my exchange. And by the way, if you want to see a great tutorial how you can install Exchange 2013 or Exchange 2016, you can visit my good friend Johnny's channel. I will provide the link so you can see how you can do this by step by step. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to delete the branch organizational unit by mistake, of course, and I'm going to restore that branch unit, and I'm going to restore the system state, which will make a non-authoritative restore. And what does that mean is the Active Directory keeps track of all of its objects and attributes, and with this it tries to keep all the objects and, for example, the users, to keep them up to date with all of the domain controllers. So there are a lot of different schemes that are used by the Active Directory to see what is the newest object within your domain and replicate that object to your other domain controllers. So for example, if I use this account for Jill, which is an accountant currently into my finance department, and if I add a phone number, for example, let's specify a phone number and apply the changes, that record will be the newest record within my domain. So my Active Directory replication on my next pull interval will check to see which object has the newer attributes, and will replicate that to my other domain controllers within my domain with intranet replication and intra-site replication, and inter-site replication. So if I go ahead and open the geo object on my branch office, I will see that still I do not have the telephone number. So the replication, if this DC was at the same site under my sites and services, the replication interval and the pool will occur almost immediately. I think the interval was around 7 seconds. So in this case, when the sites are on different locations with different subnets, that will occur within a bigger time scale. So what I'm going to do, so I can show you my scenario, I'm going to force this replication. So you can see when we update the object, when we delete the organizational unit, I want for my DC to replicate everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the branch office site, and under the NTDS settings there is a link that is linking my primary DC 01 with my branch office DC. And if I replicate now, I will force a replication, and if I refresh the settings on my Active Directory and open Geo, I can see now that I have the telephone number for Geo. Another method, instead of using the non-authoritative restore and later the authoritative restore, is if you have two DCs that are on different sites. Instead of restoring the system state of your DC, the only thing that you have to do is, for example, if the replication still didn't occur here, so if I go ahead on my primary DC and delete this organizational unit, it will not immediately disappear from here, from my branch office. So for example, if the replication still did not occur, what you can do is you can disable the replication on your second DC or on the DC that is still not received the changes. You can boot this into directory services restore mode, and you can make the branch organizational unit authoritative for your domain. So that will, as soon as the second DC will boot up, that will be immediately replicated back to your primary DC or to every other DC within your domain. So that will exclude the issue of restoring your Active Directory completely. So in order for you to restore the Active Directory, you should have a backup solution. With this one, I made Windows Server backup of my system, and I will use the system state back part of the backup, so I can restore my Active Directory, restore everything we need within, and the sysvol and all the components. And from there, I will make my branch organizational unit authoritative. Basically, what is the difference between non-authoritative and authoritative? When you perform a non-authoritative restore, it's restoring your domain controller in a previous state in time. So as soon as this domain controller is up and running within your domain, it will check around the other DCs, and the other DCs will say that they have the most recent data, and the data within the Active Directory where the branch organizational unit is missing. So as soon as you start this DC, it will replicate from your other DCs and will erase your restore. So what you need to do when you restore from a previous point in time, you need to make sure that this organizational unit or object has an incremented value, and the authoritative restore allows you to do this. It increments the value with a specific number, it's 100,000, so that as soon as you boot your DC, the restore DC, it will say, I have the most recent data, so all the others need to replicate from me. So that's the general idea behind the authoritative restore. You need to make sure that your restore is replicated throughout the other DCs within your domain and not overwritten. So what I'm going to start with is I'm going to start by deleting the branch organizational unit alongside with the sub-OUs and the users and security groups within them. And just to show you, for example, the distribution group, I have all the users here as the distribution group. So what I'm seeking from this is to restore the group membership as well as the users and groups and everything. So I want everything to be back as it was before. So I'm going to start by deleting the branch organizational unit. I'm going to click yes. Now that my branch organizational unit is gone from my DC01, I'm going to switch to my DC02, and here, if I refresh now, my branch organizational unit is still here. So this is the point in time where you want to stop the inbound replication from your other DCs on the one that you have the data. You want to boot this into directory services restore mode, and you want to make the branch OU authoritative. So as soon as you boot your DC, the primary DC will pick up the branch information. But for this scenario, I'm going to make a complete non-authoritative. After that, I'm going to make authoritative restore. So I'm going to replicate the information now. And as soon as I replicate the information and I refresh the settings, I can see an error because I was highlighting the branch OU. But this OU, as soon as I refresh somewhere else, it's now gone from my domain. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start my primary DC in Active Directory services restore mode, and we'll start with my restoring, and I'm going to use my recent backup that I have, and I'm going to start restoring my Active Directory. And after the restore is completed, I'm going to set my branch organizational unit as authoritative, which will increment that number for it, and later I'm going to boot my DC into normal mode. You have several options of how you can start your domain controller in Active Directory Services Restore mode. One is when you restart your computer, your server, when you see the boot setup loading, after the boot setup and before the you can see the Windows Server logo loading up, you can start pressing F8 key, and this should display the advanced boot menu options, and in there you will have the Directory Services Restore mode, DSRM, and from there you can boot into the DSRM. The other option is you can pre-configure what you want your server to boot in, and one of the things that you can do, I will open PowerShell as administrator to show you. You can use the msconfig, and the second tab is called boot. From here, under the boot options, you have the save boot with Active Directory repair. So as soon as you apply this and you restart, your DC will boot into Active Directory restore mode. But I'm going to use a command that is pre-configuring the options for me, which is bcd edit and then the switch set, save boot, and ds repair. What this will do is will basically set my boot options to the Active Directory repair. So you can do it if you want from the PowerShell or CMD, or if you want you can do it from msconfig if you feel more comfortable using the GUI. So now I'm going to shut down and restart my PC, my server. And as soon as my server is up and running again, I'm going to resume the video so I can show you how you can log in with your Active Directory restore mode. Now that my server is up and running once again, I'm going to press Ctrl Alt and Delete. And this time, instead of logging in with my NLB admin, actually I won't be able to do it. I need to log in with the administrator account and use the Directory Services Restore mode password. This password is set when you install your domain. So as soon as you install the domain, it will ask you what is going to be the Active Directory restore mode password. You need to specify this, and this is really important because if you want to do any maintenance jobs on your Active Directory, for example defrag or check the consistency, you need to log in to this administrator account using this password. So it's really important for you to save it somewhere. So I'm going to use the password to log in. It's going to load my server, and immediately you will see that the server interface is really different from the normal interface. It resembles the interface of a safe mode computer. So basically when you boot into this mode, the Active Directory is not working at all. The database is not mounted, so you can do maintenance tasks with the database file, the ntds.dit. So first what I'm going to do is I will need to restore the system state, and I'm going to need CMD or a PowerShell window, and I need to run it as administrator. Let me see if I'll be able to run it once again. Yep, this is the administrator. Let me close the first one. Okay, and in here, because I'm using Windows Server backup for my system state, you can of course use a different backup solution that includes the system state within, and this is the time for you to restore the Active Directory. So as I'm using a Windows backup, I'm going to use the wb-admin command and get versions to see what are the backup versions of my current backup. Okay, I can see that I have two backups. One is from yesterday and one is from today. So I would need the most recent backup on my Active Directory, where I have the branch organizational unit still in place before the deletion. So what you will need in order for you to start the backup is you will need the version identifier number. So you will need this number to copy that over, and you can start the backup by specifying wb-admin start system recovery and then version, and then paste the version identifier number. So I'm going to press enter. I think I'm system state. I missed the state there. So I'm going to press enter once again, and it will ask me if I'm sure that I want to run the system state backup. I'm going to specify yes and press enter. It will tell me that all of the changes should be replicated after the restoration. I'm going to press OK, yes and OK, and it will start the process of recovering my Active Directory database alongside with my sysvol and everything in it. So this, depending on the size of your database, this could take up to an hour or two. In my case, it's going to take me around 30 minutes because my database is not that big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video here, and I'm going to resume it after the restore is complete. Now that my restore finished successfully, it will ask me to restart my server, but I won't go ahead and restart the server, because if you remember, as soon as I restart it and as soon as my DC starts talking to my other domain controllers, it will receive the most recent changes, which are not the restored ones. So I will show you how the restore operation should look like. It will start with processing the files. After that, it's going to start the recovery process, and you will see percentages until the recovery process is fully done. And at the end, it will ask you to restart to complete the system state recovery. So I'm going to close this window, and I'm going to open a new one and run as administrator. And now what I'm going to do is, because I know that my branch organizational unit is already restored, I will make this organizational unit authoritative, so that as soon as I boot up my DC into normal mode, it will replicate the changes alongside with the organizational unit to my other DCs. And how you can do this is you can use the NTDS util to make an object or full organizational unit as authoritative. Basically, the NTDS util is a command line tool that you can perform database maintenance on your Active Directory, and you can manage the single master operations or the FSMO roles. And if you demote domain controller, you can perform metadata cleanup after that. So I'm going to use this only for authoritative restore. You can start the NTDS tool by NTDS util and press enter. And now you can see that I'm currently into the NTDS util. So I need to activate the instance NTDS, which is the Active Directory instance. And press enter. Activate. Okay. Okay, let me try again. Activate instance NTDS. Okay, now we have the active instance set to NTDS, and I can proceed with my authoritative restore. So there are different components of the NTDS util, and for this video I'm going to use the authoritative restore option. As soon as I press enter, you will see that I have a new row now that says the authoritative restore. So I'm currently within that option, and I'm going to use the switches and the command that are included in this authoritative restore command. So you can restore an object by specifying restore object, and then you need to specify where exactly is the path of that object. I will show you how you can do it, but in my case I will have to restore my full OU. So I'm going to use the command restore sub3, and I'm going to specify where exactly is the path of my organizational unit. So it's OU, the organizational unit that I want to make authoritative. It's called branch, and that OU is currently located into my NLB solutions organizational unit, and that is located into my domain. And basically the DC stands for domain component, which is the first part of my domain, which is NLB lab, and then the second part, which is com. And I need to close this. So now I'm going to press enter, and it's going to ask me if I'm sure that I want to perform this authoritative restore. I will click yes. Okay, it used the ntds.d database, and it used my organizational unit branch, and configured that to have the increased attribute version number by 100,000. So now as soon as I boot up my DC into normal mode, that information will be the newest within my domain and will replicate to my other DC. So I'm going to, you can see here that the authoritative restore completed successfully. So I'm going to write quit and then quit again. And now I'm going to, before I restart my server, don't forget to remove the option to boot into safe into Active Directory restore mode. You can do this by opening the msconfig command, or using the bcd edit and then set safe boot. It's actually, it is delete value and then safe boot, so that it will delete the value. If I open msconfig, if I go to my boot, I can see that the tick box is now removed, and my server will boot into normal mode. So I'm going to restart my server. And after my server is up and running once again, I'm going to continue to show you what are the final steps. Now that my primary domain controller is up and running once again, I'm going to log into it. But instead of using the administrator account, I'm going to use my domain admin account. And I'm going to press enter. And as soon as I log in, I will see that another window, CMD window, will appear, and it will say that the system state recovery operation that started at a specific time has successfully completed. So in order for me to continue, I need to press enter. I'm going to press enter now. And now my server manager will load up once again, where I can open my Active Directory users and computers, and will show you that my branch organizational unit is back in place. And now let's see if my my system state restore was successful. So I will expand my NLB solutions, and here I have the branch alongside with the finance, alongside with all the users, all the security groups, and the membership is still in place. So I'm happy that my restore was successful, but now is the tricky part. I need to make sure that this is the version that is most up to date, and that will replicate to my second DC. So let's switch to my second DC. Let's unlock that. Now here I don't have the branch office still organizational unit, and if I go to services and if I replicate the information, force a replication from my DC01, okay, hopefully now that I forced the replication, after I press refresh I will be able to see the branch organizational unit. So let's do this, refresh, and here the branch has successfully replicated to my second DC. So if I go ahead even further, if you go to the view options and click the advanced features, you will be able to see when you right click on one of the restored objects and click properties and then go to the object tab, you will see that this has an update sequence number, and this sequence number is a part of the Active Directory replication scheme that is used to replicate the information to the other DCs. Let me go ahead and check that from my primary DC. Check object. I can see here on my primary DC where I made the system non-authoritative restore, and after that the authoritative restore. It incremented that update sequence number with 100,000. So that forced this restored object to be replicated to my other domain controller. If I open here, I can see that this is with a lower USN number, so it was forced to replicate that information to it. So that is the end of the how you can restore an Active Directory, how you can force a replication to other DCs when you have a disaster recovery scenario. So I hope that the information in this video will help you for your day-to-day job, and will help you to act more quickly, more promptly when you have such issue within your environment. So if you like the video, please like it, please comment it, please subscribe, and if you don't think, and if you think that I've missed something, you can mention that in the comments below. I will try to respond to you all, and thank you very much for viewing, and see you soon.